Hey guys, what is going on? In today's video, we have a lot to cover. I'll be talking about the latest updates on the macro Bitcoin news, where we are currently with the recent updates that we got fresh off the press, as well as we're going to be talking about technical analysis, price predictions of Bitcoin and strategy MSTR stock, what my price prediction is. And you don't want to miss it. I'll be playing an epic clip of CEO CZ of Binance with his prediction of Bitcoin, as well as a video clip of Saylor and CEO Feng Li of strategy. How strategy was able to buy Bitcoin through the use of AI. Now, if you're new to this channel, first off, I'm so grateful that you're here. I would really appreciate hitting the like, subscribing for more related content. Let's get started, guys. This week, we have a lot of updates that's going to be coming out. In fact, tomorrow we will hear Federal Reserve Jerome Powell announcing information around rate cuts. What's interesting is that we got updates from the Treasury Reserve in that the Fed is buying another $42 billion of 10-year bonds today. What does this mean? We have more liquidity injected in the market. That really is the reversal for quantitative tightening, in that we're now easing in, and that this is going to be very bullish for Bitcoin. We do anticipate that this will be coupled with a rate cut, in that now that we have more liquidity pumped into the economy, that's really going to allow for the Federal Reserve to pull down that lever, reduce the federal funds rate, where now when you look at the economy, that's going to speed up the velocity of money spending. People are able to take loans, support their business. Small businesses will grow, large scale businesses will grow. So this is really a good thing, in that quantitative easing is here. And the key thing is that we see, the actual offering amount with this Treasury announcement, $42 billion that the Department of Treasury, Bureau of Fiscal Service, injecting more money. This is definitely a key sign for quantitative easing. Also, just fresh off the press, New Hampshire, they can officially buy Bitcoin now. We talk about strategic Bitcoin reserve. Well, in fact, New Hampshire, they're the first state to get approval. We heard a lot about, well, it's awaiting approval from the Senate, the House, all that. But when you look at the state reserve race, New Hampshire is the very first state that has now enacted, the ability to buy Bitcoin up to 5% of their current holdings, at the state level. This is really a testament for all of the states. The fact that we got the very first domino that falls, all of the other dominoes are going to follow as well, along with like Arizona. We heard during the weekend how there was one bill proposal that got vetoed. Well, that's going to get resubmitted for re-review for approval. Big state like Texas, where all of the Bitcoin mining capacity takes place. I do think that because now we have that domino effect kicking in with New Hampshire enacted into the law at the state level, we're going to start seeing all of these other remaining states get approval as well. Global game theory has really kicked in. This is definitely bullish, and we're seeing Bitcoin price actually start running up. Chris Millis, I mean, his posting is that strategy is the ultimate Bitcoin buffet. It is a platform that satisfies every taste, preference, and appetite for investors seeking passive Bitcoin exposure. Through its diverse suite of financial products, strategy is the premier gateway for both individuals and institutions. So definitely great analogy, in that the menu offers dividends through like MSTY, different converts, through equity, through different ETF options. You have like MSTX, MSTU, Strike, Stripe, you name it, different options menu as well. So definitely a great analogy, in that strategy has different menus for the ultimate Bitcoin buffet, along with MNAV. Volatility is the recipe for strategy success. When Bitcoin goes up, by 100%, strategy can, double or triple that. So definitely bullish signal for a company that's transforming how we look at traditional finance. Let's pivot over to technical analysis. So just with the recent market, in fact, after the market closure, we're seeing Bitcoin price pump up now, hovering above $97,000. In fact, today in the opening of the market, we're hovering around, 94,000. But just now we see over a 3% increase. When you think about it, we're less than 3% away from that $100,000 per Bitcoin price. Definitely some nice positive movement, especially with that, breakout from like that sub low of like $72,000. We've been just retracing down since this bull flag, since like November timeframe. Relative strength has been steadily increasing, MACD's increasing, volumes picking up. Financial institutions like BlackRock, yesterday they bought like 500 million Bitcoins. They're just continually stacking, just like how strategy is. But when you think about it, MSTR, in terms of total HODL, they have similar amount of satoshis as BlackRock, so they're not too far behind. And with the additional offerings, with the 4242 strategy plan to buy additional Bitcoin with their ATM convertible notes, strategy, they're going to have a lot more money to buy. And let's say if companies like Berkshire Hathaway, let's say if the new CEO considers, investing into Bitcoin, they may very well be able to buy up 18% of the global supply. That is very big in terms of how much money Berkshire Hathaway has right now. So, just knowing that they can buy up 18% of the supply, that's big news. And imagine how much the price of Bitcoin can run up if that were the case. But I think in 2025, definitely we see some upside with Bitcoin getting to like $200,000 in May. I see a high possibility of us just breaking into that 100K range. Is it going to be this week? May very well be possible. Let's take a look at strategies, price action. So definitely, less volatility that we're seeing, even though the markets were red today. We didn't see much of a pullback or anything, but definitely climbing up steadily to retest this prior resistance at 440 range. I think market participants really want to push up the price, get that above 400, get into that 440 zone. We'll be hovering around this level until we retest that level 3 stair stepper, get back to that all-time high of 540. I think that's going to be achieved as soon as we have Bitcoin run up, to retest that 110, $115,000 range. As soon as we get to 150K, I do see upside into that, 750 range. And, let's say Bitcoin breaks out to like 200K sometime in, Q3, we may very well see 4 digits for strategy stock. So definitely some opportunity.
Now the largest economy in the world is adopting crypto, and they're buying crypto. They're setting up crypto reserves. That means any other country who's not doing that now is going to be at a significant disadvantage when they want to do that later, because the richest country is going to buy Bitcoin first. They're going to buy a whole lot of them, and the Bitcoin price is going to go up. The next country that comes in to buy them is going to be buying them at a higher price, so they can only buy less with less, and they have less money. Now, I think we're going to see a race towards countries adopting Bitcoin, the major cryptocurrencies. That it's good for the crypto industry as a whole, but with some logic, like a lot of the retail smaller guys will be left even further behind. Now the largest
using it in that way, and then not a long time ago came along deep research, and that was a big aha moment, because first I used an order of magnitude more computing power, then I used 2 orders of magnitude more computing power. And then I started asking questions via deep research. Well, how would you design this security, or is this possible? I have a question which would require 5 lawyers and 3 financiers to answer, and it would take them 2 weeks to answer. And I would put this chat in deep research mode, and I would grind it, and it would grind through 50 sources and work for 15 minutes and come back. And it doesn't necessarily give me the answer that I can immediately act on, but it gives me somewhere between 80 and 95% of what I need. And then I take that to the finance department. I take that to the legal department. So a lot of our innovative capital markets activity, things like Strife, things like Strike, we had to fight through all sorts of complicated legal issues, complicated financial issues. You know, we did a convertible preferred stock. It had never been done before. We listed it on NASDAQ. It had never been done before. We attached a shelf registration to it. It had never been done before. We made it a perpetual dividend, good for 1,000 years. It had never been done before. We created a perpetual call option. It had never been done before. We put a shelf registration on it. Never been done before. Now, when you go to 25 professionals with 30 years experience, say, I want to do 20 things that have never been done before, and I want to do them in a hurry. I need an answer in the next 48 hours, right? That creates a very stressful situation. And what I found with AI is the AI doesn't have a lot of ego. I can ask it a question. I can tell it that's not right. I can tell it that's stupid. I can disagree. I can work through my issues. And then after I've gone through 20 iterations, which would have ground human beings into a pulp, I can then take the 95% answer to the finance team and the legal team and the bankers and the market and say, I think this is plausible. And I don't just share the result. I share the link. I say, go into the chat. I've uploaded 27 documents. I've actually had to grind through case law of every public company that's ever done this before. I've analyzed the finance. I think it's more likely than not this will work. And at that point, when you've taken the process to 95%, you can then get to a result and build consensus. And half of AI is about consensus and doing it in a cheerful, constructive way, right? When I'm yelling, I prefer to yell at the AI, right? I really want to do this. No, you can't. Well, what if I do this? No. Well, and eventually you get to a point where maybe you can move forward. And I can say, with a high degree of confidence, right? A lot of the things we've done in the capital markets, we just couldn't have done that. Those two preferred stocks, Strife and Strife, are the first AI designed securities that I know of, certainly in our industry. So I've been inspired by it, and I think we're just scratching the surface. That the next step will be to go from deep research, which is where by the way, I went from the $20 a month, you get a few of these things, to the $200 a month subscription where you get unlimited, to the we're cutting you off because even unlimited, we think you're burning our silicon. Yeah, I think we're going to go from deep research to agents where I just say, hey, you work for me, scan everything in the Twitter sphere today about knowing what I think and tell me what I should say, and I'll tell you what I'm going to do it. And then scan the capital markets. I tend to ask questions like, look at every single publicly traded company and give me the open interest divided by their market cap and the liquidity and the trend of the liquidity, and then tell me where we stand. Click. Okay. Yeah, and the next step will be, well, why don't you just do that every day? And then, so what I think I've learned is we're going to consume exponentially more silicon and exponentially more electricity and digital power, because that's the way you break through to the new idea and the new market. And you just can't go the 20th century way. You can't even do things the way we did it 3-4 years ago. And in the words of Magnus Carlsen, it's too weak. It's too slow. You have to be faster and stronger and smarter.
So there you have it. I hope you enjoyed another episode here at All I See Is W, where we talk about stocks, Bitcoin, and finance. Let me know what your thoughts are, what your prediction of Bitcoin and strategy is. Leave all your comments and questions down below. Thank you guys. I'll see you on the next one.